It's a beautiful morning here in Pasadena, California. In fact, this is a place where my wife and I used to come and do our walk in the morning for our exercise. This is the San Gabriel Trail area, and on the background here is actually JPL, Jet Propulsion Laboratory, and they have a hiking trail here. Of course, Jet Propulsion Laboratory, famous for its modern technology, and it's used by the country in connection with the NASA operations. But my wife and I come here and walk in this trail just to get out of the busy life and just to be with, as you might say, Mother Nature, and to enjoy the beauty that God has created and just to come out of that busy city life. Today I want to talk to you about a subject that I feel is very important, and this is about our young people. Because today, in today's society, in today's world, young people are struggling to find meaning, to find purpose in their lives. Most young people today are influenced by television, by movies, by music, video games, and most of the time by their peers. And in this way, in this setup of trying to find ways and trying to find meaning from these media and all these things that the world has to offer, what happens is that there's a vacuum, there's still emptiness that is in their hearts. And a lot of our young people that I've talked to through the years have been searching for answers. They're searching for solutions, and somehow there's this vacuum, there's this emptiness in their hearts, and they're looking for answers. They're searching everywhere, and oftentimes in this world, what they find are the wrong things. And so there's a need for us, I believe. You know, there's a book that says everyone in the village is needed to raise up a child. And I believe that there's something that we can discuss here, the importance of working, the importance of helping our young people, because there's too many young people today who are struggling and need our attention, and they need our help. There is a battle, raging battle today, a battle for the minds and for the souls of our young people. It is sad to see that many young lives are drawn into the wrong things in the world. I've been a witness to seeing young people with such great potential ending up with drugs, ending up with sexual promiscuity. Some stop their education, others are just running away from their homes, and they're just feeling lost. And I believe that in all their pursuit, trying to fill this emptiness in their hearts, I believe that there is a solution, that there is an answer. I believe that there is a way, and our young people are seeking and looking for that direction and that help. So in this program, 360 in Emmaus Road, we are going to explore this answer and this solution to the seeming problems that these young people, our young people, your children, my children, loved ones, that they're looking for. We will be looking into what does Jesus say about this, and also importantly, we will be hearing stories from the young people themselves. So David, what challenges do young people face today?
Well, one problem that I face personally, I'm a Christian and I have been a Christian for my whole life. I've been raised in a Christian family, but in America it's very difficult for Christians to grow up and not experience all the adversity from teachers and from students. So many people want to put down Christians for what we believe in. Oftentimes there's the battle between science and religion, Christianity. Oftentimes they're like, oh, evolution exists, your beliefs are completely wrong, or oh, science is better than Jesus. You can't have one and the same. But in the reality, you can actually have both. And it's not that difficult. You can be Christian and believe in science completely together. And you don't have to have contradiction here. In fact, they're the same. God created science, right?
Something that I struggle with, that quite a lot of other people do too, my age, is just not knowing what to do with our lives, just because we're recent college graduates and we're trying to figure out just what we want to do, and figuring out what we're good at, what we're not good at, those kind of things. And I don't know, I at least feel like I have people in my life telling me all kinds of different things, and in a way it makes me more unsettled.
So my family moved here in 1996. I was 6 years old, and I was this small little kid, and with a thick Filipino accent. At least when I started in elementary school, the kids would even comment on that. I think that a lot of immigrant kids, Asian American young kids who come here, well, not the ones who come here, but the second generation Asian American immigrants, they oftentimes feel a lot of pressure from their parents to succeed, to do really well, and I can kind of see why it would be that way. And after all, the parents, lots of times moved out of poverty from Asia and then moved to the U.S. Try their best to put their kids in decent schools, try to push their kids towards college. But lots of times, I think these parents have some sort of image of what they want their kids to be, and they might not conform to what their children actually want to do.
Probably the biggest challenge that I personally face since I'm still in college are like one of two things where it's like all the time, everyone I know, they're all like, hey Anthony, let's go out and have sex and do as many drugs as we can all at the same time. And it's actually like it can get very cumbersome over time to have just everyone I know in college. They're like, hey, we're gonna go to a party. It's only gonna be sex and drugs combined.
I think one of the biggest issues that people our age deal with is having a healthy idea of what sex is, and not just simply active sex, but the representation of it in a positive image of what sex is. I think in media today, we have such a sexualized culture, from the music to the movies to our concept of dating. Sex permeates those things, and we think of sex as something to be gained or to be achieved. And I really think that affects the kids who are younger than us as well, because they see that people our age are pursuing sexual activities. They put sex as such a high priority that young kids who see these older kids want to pursue that as well, and that creates a vicious cycle of having an unhealthy image of sex. And I think we as young adults need a better perspective of what sex and sexuality really is.
We are all travelers, seeking for a better life, but not satisfied, perhaps burdened, perhaps with more questions than answers. But when we allow Jesus to travel with us, life gets better. Join us, a new program, a better perspective, at 316 Emmaus Rd. We don't want to lose our young people. We love them much. We love and we do care for their future. We care for them today. In this program, we want to walk alongside with them In fact, this program was inspired from the story of Luke 24, the story where two young disciples were coming out of Jerusalem. This was a few days after Jesus' crucifixion, and they were kind of depressed and sad, not knowing really what the future holds for them. And it's a story of the resurrected alive Jesus, who was crucified, who died a few days before, and he walked alongside the disciples. He walked with them. And it was in this walking, it was in this talking with the disciples, in conversing with them, that the young kids, these disciples came into enlightenment and saw what the meaning of life is all about. And that's what we're going to hear, and let's hear from their stories.
Yes, oftentimes it feels like I may be the only one, or you may be the only one in your neighborhood or your school that believes in Jesus or believes in God. And it can be difficult to feel alone. But the truth is, there's actually so many other people that are with you. We have friends, there's church friends and family friends who all believe in Jesus. Christianity can be so much fun, and the people I know can have so much fun. I can have so much fun with my Christian friends. But Christianity is not only about fun. I mean, for me, Christianity is believing that Jesus is God and that He does exist and that He did save us.
I feel like it's more, there's more in it than that, because you can easily just say to someone, pray about it, but it's harder to find that answer. Like you're not gonna pray, God, what should I do? And then He sends down this like paper airplane and it lands and you unfold it and it says, you should be a doctor. You know, it's not gonna be like that. So, praying about it, talking to people that you admire and respect, talking to those people about it and seeing people who know you really well, that can give you advice of what they think.
As a Christian, God constantly reminds us that there's nothing we can do to gain His approval. And when my parents say the same thing, it means a lot to me also. And I'm pretty sure it would mean a lot for the millions of young people who, like me, might be prone to seeking approval. God is love, and He gives us an unconditional love. So, as humans, whether we're parents or whether we're kids, we can learn a lot from that, from Jesus' example, giving Himself completely to us. Or the Father, if you've ever heard the Prodigal Son story, just welcoming his son back, even though the son wasted away half of his father's life savings. The father, no matter what happened, he embraced his son, he threw a party for him. So that is something all of us can learn, whether we are Christian or not, because God's example is a perfect example.
Well, with challenges like this, usually just like my conviction in God is, well, like you said, I am a Christian, and my conviction in God is what helps the most. Usually with these, when it comes to like people who like ask me to go to parties, yeah, I'll go to parties. It's like there's nothing wrong with going to a party, but it's like when I'm there, I don't like engage in those things. Like to start, like when I go, I won't be like that like Christian guy who's like goes in there, starts like slapping drinks at people's hands, like, no, this is an abomination to God, and he's like, he hates all this. I won't go in and I won't do that, because that just like turns people off from like Christianity, and they'll be like, oh, look at that guy, what's he doing? He's just being a jerk. And so it's like I'll go and people will be like, hey Anthony, you wanna just casually go over there and do some drugs? And I'm like, no, it's alright. I'm like, I don't wanna like damage my body in that way. I don't want to like disrespect my body in that way. I'll say a lot of subtle things that refer to like God and how He wants us to like live our lives. And people will be like, oh, alright, don't worry about it. And it's like, I'll just do that. And I'll like kind of hint at like why I don't do it. And it's like, I don't like judge them for it, so they don't feel like bad. And they're just like, oh, I don't want to like be around Anthony, he's judging me as a Christian. So I just like give like subtle like hints, and be like, I don't do this for this reason, I don't believe in it. And they're like, okay, I understand.
As a Christian, you you follow by a different standard. You can't really just go by the same standard that the media has set before you, because by the nature of Christianity, it's countercultural. It makes no sense of the world. And the same thing with sexuality. As Christian, we follow a probably outdated and archaic idea of sex after marriage. And in today's world, that's crazy. People are made fun of for not having sexual experience by a certain age, or if they've never been exposed to what some concept of sex is. And it's hard because we are living as a minority in a majority culture of non-Christian. But as a Christian, you have to live by a different culture. And you develop this culture by surrounding yourself by people who are Christians, people who have a different value, and they support you and help guide you. Me personally, I came from a non-Christian background. For 18 years I wasn't a Christian. I'm 22 now, and I've been a Christian for 3 or 4 years. And my perception of sex was very different from what it is now. For me, before I was a Christian, I definitely saw sex as something to be done in any given relationship. It's something that people kind of bragged about when they got it, and it was something normal. People do it in relationships every time. I mean, it's talked about, it's praised about, and it's something that you just do just to do. But when I became a Christian and I became surrounded by a Christian environment, it became different. It was more hush-hush, and it was a little more taboo in some sense. But when I really got closer to certain people, we get to share ideas. It wasn't just something talked about openly, because sex is something sacred in God's eye, and He had an idea and a plan for it.
It is great that we heard some of the stories of our young people. I'd like to pull up some statistics and read them to you and see how serious this topic is about. Did you know that the USA Today had an article 2 years ago, only 2 years ago, and in that article a survey was given. The result of the survey says 33% of young people believe that religion is out of date and out of touch. 40% believe in astrology, and most of these people read astrology column every day. 42% say that there are many ways to go to God, and 30% feel that the content of the Bible is not really relevant or adequate for their lives. And you know what the shocker is? The shocker is the survey was done among Christian youth. So with that picture in mind, no wonder, you kind of wonder what will be the outcome if we do a survey with non-Christian youth. And now I understand that this is a religious program, one of those Christian programs that we probably see from time to time. And honestly, I know I can easily just say, okay, these people, they need to study their Bible. They need new teachings, new theology, new truth. They need to wake up. It's easy to say that in such a program like this. While those things may be okay, you know, we do need good theology and doctrine, but based from a survey among our young people, what they need the most is a home, adults, people who care for them. And also I learned from my study that the reason why a lot of people join the wrong crowd, all kinds of gangs flourish, is because what they need, the gangs are providing for them. They provide them a community, they provide them their attention, and so that's where they go. But we don't want to lose our young people, right? We want our young people to see that they have a good future. I mean, seriously, I feel this is a very important subject to me personally, as I have seen so many young people who have lost all their chances for a good future, and it's just being wasted. In another survey, they found out that what the young people are saying is that they say, we want people to understand how we think. We want people to teach us by example. We want people to be interested in the things that we are interested. They understand that because they're young and from time to time they go wrong, and they want teachers who are compassionate, mentors who are genuinely authentic in their hearts, caring for them. They don't want condemnation all the time and hearing all the negatives. Young people yearn and they hunger for good friendship. They yearn for a good relationship. They yearn for acceptance. They yearn for love. So it's a challenge for you, all of us. It's a challenge for us because we all know young people. And I think the scriptures that ties in very well with this topic is the story of the prodigal son. You know the story. It's the story of this father with two sons. And one of the sons, at one point in that story, said, "Dad, I want to take all my inheritance now." You know, the money and all of that. And I want to be independent. And so this young man went away, went to the city, the Sin City or wherever, and wasted all his money. And he came to a point when he doesn't have anything to eat. He was hungry. And the food of the pigs, you know, he was caring for the pigs, was even better than what he eats. So he came to his senses. And he said, "My father's servants, they eat better than I do. I will go back to my father and apply as a servant." It's a very touching story because the father, from the day that the son left, the father would look out of the window and just hoping and waiting for the son to come back. And so the son came back and hoping that he can become a servant. And you know what happened? The father was looking outside and saw his son walking, and from afar, and the father ran towards the son and embraced his son. He was happy. So here we see the parable of the prodigal son teaches us, parents, mentors, teachers, that we do have a model to follow. God the Father. God the Father whose love for the young person was unconditional, whose love was so obvious that he really cared for him, even though this young man did the wrong thing. And yet that relationship from the Father was authentic, and he welcomed him back not as a servant but as a son. It's a beautiful message. There's another story of Jesus Christ with his disciples, and at one time there were children who were in the midst of the disciples, and the disciples easily got upset and they were pushing away. They got uncomfortable with the presence of children, and they were pushing away these young people, these kids. And Jesus said, "Stop." You know what he said? Don't push them away. And you know what Jesus did? Jesus said, "Let the children come to me." And they did not only come to Jesus, but he picked them up. He embraced them. And that's who Jesus is. And that's the message that Jesus has for us. For you, young people, whoever you are, whatever you're doing right now, perhaps you feel like there's emptiness inside you. You're looking for answers. Jesus is saying he loves you. You're worth it. And he says, "Come to me. I want to have a relationship with you." He wants to embrace you. He loves you. He loves you so much that he came from heaven and he became one of us. without sin, and yet he was willing to give himself. He died on the cross. He took the pain. He died. He was crucified. The most excruciating pain. He suffered just for you and for me. And then on the third day, Jesus rose again. And he is alive. And just like in the story of the Emmaus Road, Jesus comes and he wants to walk with us. He wants to talk with us. He wants to converse. He wants to have intimacy and relationship. So I invite you to respond. I invite all of us to go and to walk with our Lord Jesus. And in walking and in talking, in conversing with Him, we will find the answers. That emptiness inside us will be filled. Will be filled with God Himself. He will give us joy. He will give us peace and comfort. He will give us a better life. This is Bermie Dizon, a word from Emmaus Road.